Shabbat Shalom, everybody in this fabulous body, right? Kawhi, which Kawhi is that? Where you at? I hope you say New York. No? If not, I would love to know you. I know a Kawhi in New York, and I know a Kawhi, I think he in Australia. Neptali, I know. Oh, you out in Portland. Portland, Oregon. All praises to the Most High. Plant Vineyards 144. At gmail.com. Kaban. Let's do it for another Sabbath, y'all. I love the Sabbath. Ain't gotta do nothing. Ain't gotta go nowhere. Right? None of that. Can just hang out. Take it easy. You know, get in this word. Chop it up with the iron. Shoot a prayer up with the family. Right? Something about that Sabbath rest is different, ain't it? Don't that Sabbath rest be different? It's different, man. When you lay it down, you take a little nap, man, that'd be the best sleep. I'm telling you, something is different about that nap on the Sabbath, right? It's what the day is for. It's a day of rest, right? Kawah Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Yapa Judah, Shabbat Shalom. Michelle H, Shabbat Shalom. Cruising, Shabbat Shalom. Tazadak, Ya'ala, Shabbat Shalom. Right? Let's see. Let's pull a random. Let's roll the dice. A random Sabbath scripture. Let's get one. Mark chapter 2, verses 27 and 28 says, and he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. Right? He is Lord of the Sabbath. Guys, all praises to the Most High. Let's go even further, right? Uh, Mark chapter 3. And he entered again into the synagogue. There was a man there which had a withered hand, right? So he about to start healing, and they watched him whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him, right? And he said unto the man which had the withered hand, stand forth. Verse 4. And he said unto them, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill. But they held their peace, right? So what does that mean when we hold our peace? It means they chilled out, They left him alone, right? And when he looked around, and when he looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto the man, stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other, right? So that's love right there. You know, this is love. And it's good to do that on the Sabbath. The Most High never meant don't do good on the Sabbath, right? So men were wrong. And you see how the Most High works? There's lessons to be learned in error, while you're wrong. You know, uh, we may not be right today, but we'll be right tomorrow, you know. And the Most High, that's how He teaches, you know. It's a scripture that says He uses foolish things to confound the wise, right? So that means we learn, through error, and we learn through whooping. With what all we went through in this ghetto, man, we gonna be ready for that kingdom, ain't we? And we trying to straighten ourselves out, you know, and get better at doing, the things of the law and the gospel, that belt, that belt to get you to understand. Can you, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So don't hate the dark times, y'all. Don't hate the dark times. Without the dark times, you can't even appreciate the light the same, right? That's what that rain is doing. Hallelujah, says Lasonia White. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all to call on y'all. I appreciate y'all. We call on the higher, you know, but I appreciate y'all too. You know what I'm saying? We went to different schools, you know, like my brother Ephraim, the truth be saying. It's all about who's pulled you in and where you learned from it. You know what I mean? You know, it's all about who's calling you too. Cause I started out, I called on y'all once. I called on y'all for like 2 years in the beginning, right? So all praises to the Most High. You know, we see differently, right? And it's no reason to try to tear each other's heads off, you know. And that's what we got to start doing, you know what I'm saying? Being able to speak, you know, without all the feelings involved and without all the hitting below the belt and trying to hurt each other and stuff, you know. But 24 of 26 of us in here. All we get is 6 thumbs. That's it. So dang, 20 of y'all over here with sideways feelings for the brother. That's crazy. Right? So I'm really only talking to like 7 of y'all, huh? That makes sense too. Cause that's how the email be, you know. All praises, yeah. Get them likes up, y'all. You know, this love, it ain't taking hold out there. It's very slow. You know, sucks. But we just gonna keep on pushing though. You know what I'm saying? We ain't here to be liked. Did you hear what I said about the Most High? That's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? You know, and for us to go do better, man. Each and every day on a schedule. If we follow the schedule properly, by the time it's time to take off out of here, we'll be right where we need to be. Con Ecclesiastes 9 and 8. Let thy garment be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. Well, you must see my oil, huh? All praise to the Most High, and my garments are white. All right? Praise the Most High. Daniel 12 and 10. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Right? So, the better you do, the more you understand. And that reminds me of the scripture, you know, the knowledge of the holy is understanding. What is knowledge? It's what you know, right? What is holy? It's set apart, right? So it's knowledge that comes with doing something, right? We could read this book all day long, right? But until we start doing what we're reading, right? And then you'll see our speech will change and the way we're able to break it down changes and everything because now you're talking about something that you've done. You know, you're talking about something that you have experience in. And that's when it turns into wisdom, right? And understanding, right? When you understand things, they don't hurt. You're not in pain when you understand. That's what makes things painful is that you don't understand, right? When people was dying and stuff, man, that used to devastate me. Where did they go? You know, are they hurting? You know, are they in pain right now? You know, all of the loved ones I lost and stuff like that, you know, it used to really tear me up, you know, until I went where I went and seen what I saw, you know. And it's beautiful, y'all. It's beautiful. You know, it ain't a bad thing no more. Why? Because I understand it, right? And with the curses and things, that's why the curses hurt us so bad, because we didn't know why we was going through what we was going through, right? And then we start reading Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus 26, right? And then it's like, oh, you know, so now the pain ain't so bad, right? Now, anger rests where? Who could tell us where anger rests at? While I get it, in the Bible, right? In the bosom, in the liver, all of that's true. Liver and gall, all of that's true according to the patriarchs. Yeah, it rests on your liver. Tazadakia, you are absolutely right. In the bosom, right? Ecclesiastes 7 and 9. Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, right? For anger resteth in the bosom of fools, right? That's where anger rests. In the bosom of a fool, right? So if you stay angry, it's because you didn't have the knowledge to make sense of everything. You know, you was just left. You was left to be angry, right? And that's why it's an act of love to reach out to a brother, man, and not let him stew. That's why Matthew 18 is telling us to go to your brother and things like that. Because if you got the spirit on you to do so, then that means you ain't tripping. You ain't tripping. Possibly as much as he's tripping. So you taking a high road. To go and get a conversation one on one with him. You know what I'm saying? Anger rests in the bosom of fools because we don't understand. You know who is a fool? Somebody who don't understand, right? Nobody would volunteer to just be angry if they had a choice, right? But a fool likes to be angry. He would rather be angry. It'll be easier to chill out and you know what I mean? But nah, he wants to fuss and fight and make a scene and you know what I mean? You know how that is. You like, I'm gonna make and he like, nah, forget that. You know, you embarrassed. He's not embarrassed. But yeah, you know, it's blessed to understand. Things don't hurt when you understand. It's a gift. Understanding is a gift, right? Let's go to it. That's bringing one to mind, right? Psalm, one of my favorite scriptures ever, right? Great peace have they which love thy law, right? So if you love the law, you're going to have great peace, right? Read it again. Great peace have they which love thy law, right? No, great peace have they which have conquered all thy laws, right? No, it says great peace have they, which love thy law. So all you got to do is love the law, even while you working on perfecting it, right? If you love the law, which is what the Most High told us to do, if you love the Most High's instructions, right? The Most High is talking to you out of the sky and you love what he's saying and you can't wait to get to it and battle with it and conquer it. And you know what I mean? You're going to have great peace, right? And that is Psalms chapter 119, verse 165, right? Psalm 119 and 165. Great peace have they which love thy law, right? That's the first half. Second half, and nothing shall offend them. Nothing shall offend them, right? It's very hard to offend a person who loves the law, right? It's very hard to offend somebody who peace is important to, right? When peace becomes important to you, you go out of your way to have it, right? So you don't just snap back at somebody who's snapping at you, you respond more of a tone that like wants to discuss things and talk it out, right? And sometimes they see that and they'll bring their voice down, right? And then there's another type of person who he'll get even louder and he'll start tearing up the furniture and stuff because he hates that you're not getting as excited as he is. And who is that? That's that Ecclesiastes 7 and 9 right there. That's anger resting in the bosom of that fool, ain't it? And don't get it twisted. I'm not calling nobody. I would never call a person a fool. The scripture is saying that, right? That's all I'm doing, just reading this book, right? So yeah, so we should be eager to want to do. That's the key, right? You don't have to be what they call perfect. You don't have to, be accomplished in all of this righteousness and all, you know what I mean? Whoever you are, if you could switch your mind around to get excited, to at least look forward to wanting to do this stuff, it'll have the Most High send down because He controls our emotions. It'll have Him send you down a better feeling, right? And you'll find yourself being and feeling peaceful, right? And being happy with not much, right? It's the reason why the poor man is righteous and the righteous man is poor, He don't need anything. Ask him if he's hurting, right? Nah, he's fine. He's dressed, he's not cold when the weather is cold, He ain't gonna get wet if it rain. He ate, you know. He had some soup and some bread or whatever, and his soul is blessed, right? And at the end of his life, he's going to go be somewhere for eternity, right? That's going to make this little life in this earth, it's like nothing, y'all. Think about it. How long you been alive, you know? You can never get a day of that time back, right? It's gone. And it feels like nothing, don't it? Right? It feels like nothing back there. Like, man. And it's scary when you get in your 40s like me, because if I double that, I'm 80, I'm 80 something, you know? And it's like Judah usually don't get that old. He's very blessed if he sees 80. He's very blessed if he sees 70, right? You're blessed. You was doing something right. You had a pretty good uh detox mechanism going for your body or something, because the food alone kills us in our 50s. You know, you was athletic or something. It's a lot of older brothers like that. They walk all across town and all of that. My stepdad is like that, walk all over town, you know, way over. Dang, what you doing way over here? You on foot, you know? And yeah, but we be out of here, man, in our 50s, 54, 53, you know. Uh my man had a heart attack a few months ago, 53 years old. Looked up to him in the world, you know, and he was all that, he was all that, you know, and he knew it. Very conceited guy, combing his hair all the time, had a long Jerry curl back in the days, you know what I'm saying? Back in the 80s and all of that, be combing his hair all the time, girls used to fall all at his feet, you know, and 53 years old, man, and checked out of here, had a heart attack, was having some trouble with blood pressure for a while, and then shoot, out of there, Father bless his soul, But yeah, we be out of here, man. We got to get on this. If you don't worry about your health, trust me, you will worry about your health eventually, right? But I see nonstop scriptures in here. All praises to the Most High. Isaiah 28 and 29. This also cometh forth from the Lord of hosts, which is wonderful in counsel and excellent in working, right? What is counsel, right? That's a discussion back and forth. That's a build. So he's building with us all the time, right? And what else is he doing? He's excellent in working. So he's working. He's always working, right? So this don't look like nothing to y'all right now, but he's counseling and he's working, right? And I'm so happy to be in front of this camera with y'all right now, y'all, right? And uh you being pleased to be here, because I know how important that is, right? A lot of people, you know, uh they wouldn't be getting it right now. They would be somewhere else, occupied with something else. It's a blessing that we could come before this camera right here, right now, and read this Bible and hang out on the Sabbath. All praise to the Most High for that. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Cruising wants to get Isaiah 58, 13, 14. Let's go there. Isaiah 58, 13, 14. My memory is getting better. I'm getting my memory back, y'all. Real keen. Isaiah 58, 13 through 14. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. 14. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Most High, and I will cause thee to ride on the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Most High has spoken it. So y'all see that? You know, what we choose to do every day. What we choose to do every day affects how the Most High treats us, what he does with us. He said, I will feed you with the heritage of Jacob thy father, right? And what is that? When he feeds us with the heritage of Jacob, that means we're going to be less Babylonian minded, right? And it's a lot of stuff that's going on, you know, and it's like that's Babylonian minded, you know. If you was to tap into the heritage of Jacob thy father, right, it becomes things with substance, right? Everything I'm on is the heritage of Jacob. Let's get back to growing our own food, eating our own food, raising our own animals if you're going to eat those, right? Let's get on peace and love. Let's get off of all of this fighting and bickering. You know what I'm saying? If you see me bickering, trust me, I would rather be talking about something else, but I have to talk about that, right? Because you guys can't go forward, you know, unless I talk about that. You're stuck on that, right? And when somebody done false accused you and things like that, ain't nobody gonna hear your words, right? They're hearing those words from a false accused person, right? So let's do our best to try to shed off this false accusation, and then I can get back, you know, to speaking other things, right? And you see a whole bunch of people, that's all they interested in, really. You know, they're around for the fight, you know, oh, a fight, you know. If you get a big old crowd of people, right? And then when they start talking and making sense with each other, oh, then everybody they start dispersing, right? You know, we want to see a fight. We want to see, you know, the drama, right? And what does that do? It brings a whole bunch of people around, you know, and it's like, okay, y'all get out of here. So us few calm people, you know, can sit around and talk things, you know, that we talk, the peaceful people talk, right? That, you know, that's why it's only a remnant that's going to be saved. Who was that remnant? The people who were still there after the fight was over, you know, the people that was around for the reconcilement, you know. It was a whole bunch of people that when the fight was over, they dispersed fast, right? You know, but don't worry, you know, I'll be talking slick again soon. You know what I'm saying? And you could marvel at whatever, you know, but it's really for the people who gonna be here when y'all disperse, right? And to bring understanding for them. Feel what I'm saying? But yeah, all praises to the Most High. Ain't no fight here today. You know, we keeping the Sabbath. We're in the scriptures, right? We're talking about some understanding here, right? And for y'all who ain't catching the live while it's going, You don't know that this camera is pausing. And when it does that, when it plays it back, it just skips all that time it was paused. So my speech is sounding choppy a lot and things like that. And I apologize, about that. You know, I was watching the video the other day, and where it clipped that and did that at, it made me sound crazy. Like I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, what's up? Like, what's up with bronze? Nah, I ain't tripping, y'all. It's this connection out here, you know, off of this grid. So I do apologize about that. But let's break down that Isaiah 58, right? It says, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thine own pleasures. So, you know, remember I told you about hands and feet? Our movements. The Father is watching that. It means a lot to him, right? Feet running swift to do evil. He says things like that. Your movements mean a lot to our Father, y'all. You know, uh, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, right? So here's our foot. To turn away is to boom, right? This is the things you want to do for the day on this side. This is your house on this side. Here's your foot. You turn away your foot, right? Bang, you go this way. You go back in your house, right? If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing thine own, for doing thy pleasure on this holy day, right? Our pleasure, right? So you can do his things on the Sabbath, right? So that's the work of the Most High, right? And that's what Christ was coming to show us, right? In the other scripture, we seen them tripping on them for healing people. That's a work of the Most High, right? It's a work of the Most High. That's what makes it okay, right? Whatever you're doing in the vein of the work of the Most High on the Sabbath day is okay. That's not your own pleasure, right? Now, don't think you can go and be clever and try to fool him and do something for yourself and say, oh, this is for the Most High. This is the Most High's work, right? Because he is a discerner of the heart. You're going to get yourself in trouble like that, right? So I had to throw that out there because it sounds obvious as something that you could try to pull off, right? While I'm reading this. Nah, he's a discerner of the heart, of the heart, of the intents of the heart, right? hmm He's a discerner of the mind and the intent of the heart, right? Is what that scripture says, right? But yeah, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, right? Next comma, and call the Sabbath a delight, right? The Sabbath is a delight, and it is, right? He created us, and he created the Sabbath, and he created this earth, and he created our feelings, right? So anybody should be able, you know, to find delight in the Sabbath. And I know I do. Instead of running around and doing all of the things that beat you down all week. When I used the Sabbath for what it was for, which was rest, I felt the difference in myself on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're going to find delight in this Sabbath. Sit around, lay around with the family, do nothing, right? Get your rest, pull the book out, get some prayer going. Reach out to a few akyam. I was trying to reach out to quite a few people this week, and it didn't happen. But I reached out to them. I've already, reached out to them already. You know, and it's only 9:30 where I'm at. So all praises to the Most High, right? The holy of the Most High, reading on honorable. So the Sabbath is honorable and shall honor him, right? The Sabbath honors the Most High, not doing thine own ways, right? So back to our own pleasures again, kind of repeating that, going back into that, right? But nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. It's better to speak about what we speaking about right now, instead of speaking about something else. You know what I'm saying? That's something that's non-biblical. It's good that we in this word and we talking about spiritual things, on this day at this moment, right? I'm definitely gonna hit this button on a Sabbath, right? And I'm definitely gonna title it something that has to do with the Sabbath, and it's gonna have the date on it so that you don't confuse it with last week or next week. Huh? 14, thou shalt delight thyself in the Most High, right? So that's what we end up doing, delighting ourselves in the Most High. We spending this time with the Most High, right? And I will cause you to ride on the high places of the earth, right? So that's what's wrong with us, right? When our nerves is bad and we dealing with a lot of vexation and all of that, and it's easy for things to bother us, right? And turn us upside down. All we would have to do is wait for this Sabbath to roll around and keep it properly, and you will feel better. That's what this is telling us. Run to this. Run to this right here. You know, if you ain't feeling your best, it's a reason for that, right? Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God, right? We run to him. He's one Lord. We run to him and he will fix whatever is going on with us. We will feel better. Run to the work of the Most High. Go listen to the chastening, right? The sometimes song that I have, right? Run to the work, y'all. That work is going to uplift you. It's going to make you feel better, right? So feeling bad and feeling less than your best should be an indication that, okay, I got to bury myself, in the activities of the Most High in Christ, right? Reading on, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob, thy father, right? Man, that's what we want to do, is get back to who we were, right? Man, you at heavy risk. If you walking around something that you wasn't even originally made to be, we out of pocket. It's a blessing to be able to get back to the heritage of Jacob, our father, right? And Salakia, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. So it was his wish, right? And his will. He ordained it to work out like this in this day, right? For us who need it, right? So if you're listening and you find yourself, feeling less than your best, keep a Sabbath, you know, all of the things, you know, the activities of the Most High, bury yourself in them, right? When you do good, you feel good, right? Definitely. You're not going to keep feeling bad, right? If you're doing things that are good, right? All praises to the Most High. Glory be unto his holy name, which is Ahaya, right? The the ever mighty the one, the head, the highest, the Father, the first, all of that in the Hebrew. It means all of that. The strongest, right? We all living off of his power, right? Isaiah 29 and 24. They also that erred in spirit shall come to understand, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine. Right? So when you see somebody murmuring, they need to be taught. That's what that just told us, right? Oh man, I got a problem with this and I don't like that. And what they need at that moment is somebody to come and say, well, you're feeling like that because of this, and this because of that, right? And if you want to feel better, then you're going to have to do this, right? And then once you do this, you'll see that you're going to feel like that, right? So bless that person that comes along, right, with that knowledge and can pass it on, right? And then you can also see that when they reject that, it ain't the Father's will for them to come out of whatever they going through yet. It's still a lesson to be learned, right? In that murmuring state that they're in, con- that that complaining, and that it's what it is to murmur, right? But they also that erred in spirit, right, shall come to understand, right? So we erred in spirit. What is spirit? Spirits ain't nothing but feelings, y'all. It ain't nothing but a feeling, right? So that's why you can't let somebody else's anger enter you, right? I don't care what they do, right? Try to fire you up and things like that. Keep your composure, right? And the script tell us to combat bad with good. So when they go bad, you go good, right? You go good and keep those spirits out of you, right? And definitely don't let them rest in your bosom, because that is a fool, right? According to the scriptures, right? According to Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and 9, right? They shall come to understanding. They who erred in the spirit, they shall come to understanding, right? Is this another language? My man put, okay, all praises to the Most High. I'm sorry, I don't know how to read that, Nabi. You know, uh, he must have done put some Quran up in here or something. All praises to the Most High. I appreciate you. Right? Romans 10 and 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to the Most High for Israel is that they might be saved. That they might be saved, right? That they might be saved. Because even with all this offered, they still might not be, right? And that's why we love Christ, because he gave us that blueprint. What's the blueprint? Love, right? The sapphire blue, right? First Corinthians chapter 13. That's what it is. That's the cheat code, right? Without it, you're stuck dealing with all of this stuff. You're in a maze of drama trying to find your way out, right? And the love just picks you up from the top, just boop, just pulls you out of the maze of drama and just puts you somewhere else, you know. And those are feelings of the devil, y'all, that's in you, that make love feel weird and make you, you know what I mean? You use the L word and people get weird. That's the devil, you know? That's the devil in us. Notice I said us and not you. because I remember feeling strange, somebody coming around that's a little bit too nice, like, what's up with this cat, But man, it's the way out of everything, this maze of drama, that the turmoil of the earth over time has put us in, right? Uh, love pulls us right out of that, right? And that's what uh, Christ was bringing. That's the path that he brought, y'all, right? So when it says that Israel might be saved, that's love that he's saying that. Listen to what he's saying. Brethren, my heart's desire, okay, in prayer to the Most High for Israel, for my brothers and sisters. Hold up, y'all. Let me get my generator real quick. My fault, I am. If you're still there, uh, generator ran out of gas. Had to go fill it back up again. That's my fault. But what was we talking about? Where were we? We were talking about being fed with the heritage of Jacob, our father. All right, that's what we was talking about. Feeling better, by love. You know, yeah. It ain't weird. It ain't a weird thing. It's how you beat so much stuff, right? So that's the devil, he wants to make it, weird, you know, so that we stay away from it because he knows what a cheat, it is, right? It takes all of the battle out of the other stuff, right? It's easy. It's easy. Wherever you at, however lost you are, however angry you are, whatever deep and whatever despair you went into, right? You could make up your mind right there, that very moment. You could make up your mind to love, right? Cold turkey, right there on the spot. You could turn your whole heart around, for a person or whatever, you know, and you'll be blessed, right? And you'll come out of darkness, right? Let's bring one to mind, right? Right? First John 2 and 11. Let's start there. Let's start there. Let me get a calm when you get there. All right. First John 2 and 11. Let me get a calm when you get there. Let's read this one together. All praises to the Most High. Shalom, D. Rich. Good to see you, my brother. Talia. Shabbat Shalom, my sister. Chris, the cold man. Don't trust a smile nor judge a scowl. I like that. Sounds very wise. And it's the truth, right? Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 1, Kayam. Okay, we're gonna have to get that. We're gonna have to go there. All right. Ayala one. Shalom, my aunt. Good to see you. All right. All right, we got a few of us there. Let's read it. But he that hate his brother is in darkness, right? Period. Bottom line, you're in darkness. If you hate your brother, you in darkness, right? And walketh in darkness. So you're walking in darkness, and knoweth not whither he goeth, right? You don't know where you're going. Where are you going? That's the question, right? Because that darkness has blinded his eyes. So, this is speaking spiritually. You know what I'm saying? He who hates his brother is in darkness, y'all. He can't see, right? So who wants to be in that state? You can't see. You're going to fall over things that you would be over to be stepping over if the lights was on. You know what I'm saying? That's what love is. Love is light. You ever heard somebody say that? Love is light. You're able to see. You're stepping over things. You know, you can see, right? Where somebody else would have failed, you bunny hopping that, right? All praises to the Most High. You know, you're able to see, y'all. It's another one to say he knows not at what he stumbles, right? So can you imagine being in the dark and you trying to walk, but you done fell over something and you don't even know what it is because it's dark. You know what I'm saying? You can't see. So you fell over something, but you don't know what you fell over. Nah. When you turn on the light of that love, you know what you fell over. You can turn around and you can see that and okay, I gotta watch out for those, right? When the lights are on, you know, and then you can go forward looking out for that thing. So that's what you see when you see a situation about to go bad and somebody applies the love and they work the situation out, and flip it. That's what you just saw. Somebody who can see, you know, they didn't trip and fall over, the obstruction, because that's what they are, obstructions. When you get locked in a situation where you can't agree with a brother, you know what I'm saying? You guys are, even you ever seen some people trying to find, you know, a medium somewhere and they can't do it, They're trying and they can't do it. Man, that's the man. That's a horrible scene, right? But Khayyam had pulled one out. Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 1. Let's go there because it It might be related to this because I did talk about a few subjects. So let's see what this is pertaining to. Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 1. Love righteousness, ye that be judges of the earth. Think of the Most High with a good heart and in simplicity of heart. Seek him, right? So he's not complicated, right? So in the simplicity of your heart, seek him, right? Don't make things complicated, right? Because you can hear that in people's speech, you know, you giving them something plain and they're saying, well, what about this? And what about, like, man, why is your mind even over there? Why are you even thinking about that? Focus right here, right? And they're doing all of this and that, all of this, all around about, because they don't want to focus here, and that's being hard to entreat, Nah, leave all of that stuff around. Focus right here, you know, and that's what it be, man. We don't be wanting to do it, you know. Uh, and you're gonna feel the most pain when that's the way you moving and you working like that. That all that means is that you haven't seen enough pain yet. And the Most High is just gonna fold his arms from the heaven when he could be doing this and you know touching things and you know tapping stuff with his finger. Boop, how the Most High work. He could be, he could be rearranging things for you. But when you acting like that, he just he gonna fold his arms. He gonna stand back and just leave you just going through all that turmoil, right? Because that's how he refines us, is with fire, right? And this works for anything. It don't matter what your situation is. The answer is the same. Stop what you're doing. Go out your door. Show some love. Go love the public, right? Go hit the public with the love of Christ. Watch whatever your situation is. Watch it be different by the time you get back home, right? And that depends on how bad you want it to stop, right? If you want to sit around, take it as a joke, and you still ain't felt enough pain or something, then I'm not talking to you. But for you who really want your vexation to stop, man, go out there. Matter of fact, we going out tomorrow. Come out with us tomorrow, right? Hit that Plant Vineyards 144 at gmail.com and ask for this flyer, right? And get up first thing in the morning, go somewhere, print you out 50 copies or so, 25 copies, whatever you want to do. You know what I'm saying? 100 if you a true brute, you know what I'm saying? And go pass out these things, pass out, they're going to take it, they're going to snatch it from you, they're going to look at it and just start talking. As soon as they do this, all praise to the Most High, you know what I'm saying? Start talking to them, look around, find a way, you know, kingdom of heaven is at hand, blah, blah, you know, and get a conversation with them and try to figure out how to lift them up, That's going to make you feel better. There is no better reason why we are alive, right? Is to be speaking to a stranger about Christ. There is no better place to be for the Most High. If you understand that, that's number one, right? There is no place where Christ would rather you be than in the street somewhere talking to a stranger about him, right? if you really, really want to hit levels, that's what we got to do, fam. You know, you ain't worried about the silly stuff we be worried about when you on them streets. You're not thinking about that. You know, you're looking, you hunting, you know. Oh, there's a person, you know, and then you're running across the street, you know. So I would hope more of y'all would join us tomorrow, right? It's going to be blessed. Can't wait, right? Let's get another scripture. What we got there? Galatians 5:23, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law, right? That's the last of the fruit of the Spirit, right? Let's go to the fruit of the Spirit, you know? Galatians 5, right? Come down here. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law, right? So, as I just said, spirits ain't nothing but feelings, right? So, if regardless of whatever you're going through, you could just roll into that right there, then you controlled your temperance and everything. You know what I'm saying? You pulled yourself up out of a ditch, basically. If in the middle of whatever you're going through, you could roll into these feelings, you have filled yourself up with those spirits, right? Love, joy, peace, long suffering, right? So long suffering is like, man, you really want to just fly off the handle, right? But it's long suffering that'll have you just take that deep breath and just, you know, and just be okay with whatever is going on for the next, for an extra few minutes, gentleness, right? So whenever you are done suffering and you have to speak, you ain't exploding, right? When you're tired of the long suffering, you don't, that ain't your attitude when you come off of long suffering. What's the next parenthesis? Gentleness, right? So whenever you do come, you still like, hey, excuse me, And what is that? Goodness. That's goodness, right? It's not bad, right? You're still you're still in a nice bracket, is what that's telling us. Goodness, you're still in goodness. And what is it showing? Faith, right? Faith. It's showing that you believe in who God is, right? You're showing faith. It's just taking you on through every comma, right? What what's next? Meekness, right? That's what the meek would do, right? What's next? Temperance. Temperance, y'all. It shows that you're in control of your temper, right? And what does it end with? Against such there is no law. There's nothing against all of that. Love, peace, joy, long suffering, right? Gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, right? There's no law against that stuff, right? Long as you follow that, you ain't broke no law, right? You still in good standing. My fault, y'all. Buffering. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. You know, they got to try to get in the way. It's possible to have a strong connection, even out here. Denisha, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, sister. That's how you say it. First Peter 4 and 8. That sounds like something about being sober or something, right? Cardo, glad y'all still hanging in here. I thought I was gonna lose y'all because I was trying to get it back and it didn't want to come back the way it usually does. It was giving me problems, right? Ayala 1, 1 John 4 and 20, right? If a man say, I love the Most High and hate his brother, he is a liar, right? For he that loveth his brother whom he has seen, how for he for he for hold up, for he that loveth not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love the Most High whom he has not seen? Right? That's cut and dry right there. You know, so how could we let somebody see us hating after we read that? Right? And even greater than that, how can your own heart allow you to hate somebody after you done read that? Nah, that's serious. If you find yourself hating somebody, you know, you should be digging it within yourself to switch that around, you know, to where you don't hate nobody, right? That should alarm you, right? And it's not hard to love, y'all. It's easy. It's easy to love, right? Very easy. You could just turn it off. Just turn it off. However you feeling, whatever you dealing with, just you know what I'm saying? And it ain't gonna change while you sitting there. When does it change? You have to go to work, right? You have to go to work. You can't just tell yourself, okay, I'm not gonna hate them, and you know what I mean, I'm not, you know, and then you just sit there and you soak and you try to feel different sitting there. No, it don't work like that. You know, you gotta find the task. You gotta jump in there with them, right? When you make up your mind, okay, I'm not gonna hate this person. You come out your mouth at them, right? And how does that sound? Like an apology. Hey, my bad, I was tripping out, blah blah. You know what I'm saying? And then figure out something that y'all can do, right? Let me, you know, if they doing something, jump in there with your hands. Yeah, let me go. You know what I mean? Now y'all talking and working or something like that. You know, you can't sit there. You can't be idle, right? And your feelings are gonna change. Nah, you know, especially if they need some help. You know, that's the best way. Jump in there, help them, offer something or something. You know, let me do this, something like that. You know, let me, you know, you want some lunch or something. You know, and get busy, right? Work has to go into it, you know? All praises to the Most High, right? This is what needs to be going forth in the earth, y'all, how to deal with this, but I understand now why it wasn't, right? It's a reason why it wasn't. Right? It's a reason why, the best truth, it ain't a lot of light being shed on it. It's pockets and things like that, and praise the Most, that we're reaching the people that we're reaching, all praises to the Most High, because people really ain't on this. And if they're on it without commandments, They're talking love, and then they go right into how you should disrespect the Most High. And it's like, nah, that ain't going to work, Got to have the commandments, you got to have the gospel, you got to have the love of Christ. And if you know the love of Christ is not lawless, you know. They want to pick up the love and say, oh, just, skip through the flowers and nothing matters. And you know what I'm saying? And let's gorge down, on these hot links and, you know, oh, divorce your wife, just walk away from them, stack them up. Third, fourth, fifth wife, who cares? That's the love that's in the earth right now, or else they trying to turn you on to some chakras and all of this kind of, you know what I mean? Stuff like this, that's how love is being pitched in the earth right now, you know. But the way it needs to be received in this earth right now and given, that has been compromised, and the people with the power, they're not on it, they pushing hate, they sending angry mobs after you, so it's like, man, it's an uphill battle. But you know what? All they have to do is beat unheard. That's it. Let's go there. All right. All they got to do is beat unheard. Right? It ain't about turning them. Right? That's what we want ultimately. Yes. We want people to turn around, but we know even by the scriptures that only a remnant will be saved. Who is that remnant? The people who received this love and got on it. That's who that remnant is, fam. Right? But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Right? So that's how you endure to the end. We've been talking about this again and again, right? That's what has to be intact when you get to the end, right? To be saved, right? Is for your love to still be intact. Now let's go further. In this gospel, what gospel? This gospel, right? This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, right? Preached. So you know how irritating preaching is, right? Brothers got to start their speech like that. Well, I ain't preaching or nothing, but hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, I'm preaching. You know what I'm saying? Don't be ashamed of that. Well, I ain't trying to preach to nobody or nothing. And then guess what they start doing? Preaching, right? So now you're gowling. You done added gal to it. Nah, preach, right? And this gospel of the kingdom. So this is the gospel of the kingdom that we talking about, y'all. It shall be preached in all the world, right? For what? For a witness, right? So a witness is another account outside of you and me, right? So if you're making witnesses, it means you're telling the world, right? So everybody shall be a witness, to how we all received this love, the message of it, and then we kept on hating. We kept on hating, right? For a witness unto all nations. So every nation, everywhere you at, this is going to reach you. It don't matter where you are, Babylon or not, it's going to reach you. You're going to get a chance to latch on to this, right? And it's only going to be a few of us that bury this hatchet, right? Right? And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Then it's over, right? That's the only reason why this world is rolling every day right now, is for us to get this message out there and have everybody hear it, right? And refuse it. Most people are gonna refuse it, right? Most people ain't gonna want nothing to do with it, right? And then when we get to the end of the earth with this message, it's only gonna be a cluster of us who received this love and gave this love, right? So that's why I'm saying I don't expect, no big mega church. When you look at something like that, boy, when you're seeing that, do you know what you're seeing? I know what I'm looking at when I see that, when I see thousands of people's in the pew, you know, right? Only a remnant, y'all. That's it. Only a remnant. Compared to everybody who had a life and who had a shot, it's like the Most High is just dipping his finger in the sauce and then throwing the whole tub of sauce in the trash, right? That's what a remnant is. He just gonna run his finger through the sauce, taste it. Yeah, it's all right. Or whatever reaction he has. Oh, let's go there. Let's go there. Why not? Right? Second Esdras 9, I believe it is. Second Esdras chapter 9. Right? And it's down around 22 somewhere. Yep, let the multitude perish then, but that ain't where we want to start at. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to 18. And now when I prepared the world, so when he made the world, right, which was not yet made, when water was moving upon the face of the deep, right? Even for them that dwell in that now live, right? No man spake against me, right? We wasn't blaspheming with our mouth against the Most High at this time, right? For then everyone obeyed, right? So he went back to the beginning of the earth, to the foundation of the earth, and then he brought it in, For then everyone obeyed. He's probably talking about the time before when he had to bring the flood and all that, right? For then everyone obeyed. But now the manners of them which are created in this world that is made are corrupt. So now we're corrupted, right? By a perpetual seed. So this seed keeps coming and coming and coming. It's not bouncing back, the way it used to, because we used to have a hard time and go into captivity and become righteous and come out of that captivity and go back home and have another stint, where we kind of like had it together for a while before we fell again, right? And then he'll have to send us into another captivity. And we went all over the world like this, right? Not on this side of the water, but on the other side. We built all that too, right? So it's no joke when the scripture tells us that the kingdom is in us. You know, the way you build a house, Israel brought that. You know, the way you got a sewer system and all of that, draining, you know, all of that, you know, that came from us, you know. So how is it that now we're homeless and they're living in our structures, y'all? That's what happens when the Most High sets you on top and you hard-headed, and then he got to put you on the bottom. Y'all see that? That's why that's like that. But 19, for then everyone obeyed. But now the manner of them which are created in the world that is made are corrupt. We corrupted now by a perpetual seed. So that means we keep coming. We're not getting back no more how we used to, right? And that's why he sent us in this captivity and said, ain't no man gonna buy you, right? No man gonna get us out of this. He just left us here, right? And he left us here long enough to forget who we was, because you know we knew who we were when we first got over here, right? And through this perpetual seed, we lost that, right? And then it was gone, gone, gone. And then they freed us. They let us off of them plantations, and we spilled into what became these cities and ghettos, and you know, and then we did that for a long time, right? And then he started waking us up, right? And bringing us back to all of this knowledge, right? So that's where we are with this, you know. We are of this perpetual seed that couldn't get back right, that kept sinning, that was corrupted, right? And by a law which is unsearchable, rid themselves, right? So by a law that's unsearchable, it's not his law, right? It's another law, right? Outside of the Most High's law. Rid themselves. So that means we got rid of ourselves, right? We cheated ourselves, is what that just told us. We fell from our law and cheated ourselves, is what that means, right? And by a law which is unsearchable, rid themselves, right? 20. So I considered the world. So he looked at all of this sin in this world and he said, you know, what am I going to do about this, right? And behold, there was a peril because of the devices that were coming to the earth. So as he's looking and trying to figure out what he's going to do, he sees the devices. And that's all of the stuff we're doing and all of the stuff we're using to do it, right? All of the tools that we're picking up to sin, right? Those are devices, right? Reading 21, and I saw and I spared it greatly. So when he saw this, he could have just crushed us right there, but he didn't do that. He spared us greatly, right? So that means he's still just observing. He's sparing us, right? And kept me a grape of the cluster. So that's that remnant, right? He starts speaking to the few, right? He spoke to us all, but it's only a few of us that's going to hear, right? But he given us a choice. You know, if you want to feel bad about all of the people who are going to perish, those are the people who they heard this. They heard it just like the few chosen, just like the few chosen heard it. They heard it too. They made a decision, right? He didn't make that decision for them, right? But he's our father. He sees the beginning and the end, and he's only given us what's going on at the end. You know, at the end, that whole great big unnumerable multitude of people, of souls, chose not to roll with this, right? So, you know, I don't expect a lot of people to jump on this. And if they do, I know they're gonna be fake, right? If I look up and it's a billion people with us, then bless you. Bless you. You know, all praises to the Most High. But man, according to these scriptures, it's only going to be a few of us in the end, right? And I don't, man, boy, I tell you, listen, I have kept me a grape, right, of the cluster, right, and a plant of a great people, right? So, off top, in reading that, you should want to be a great person, right? Whatever you call a great person, you need to become that, right? If you want this to be talking about you in the positive, right? So we just was handed our assignment just now, fam. We gotta become great people, period, right? Let's start back over at the beginning of that verse. And I saw and spared it greatly, and I have kept me a grape of the cluster and the plant of a great people. A great people, y'all. Quantity. I mean quality, not quantity, y'all, right? Now here's the golden verse right here. This is the one that, oh my goodness, right? Verse 22, right? After he's seen all of this, right? He spared it. He kept a little cluster for himself, right? 22. Let the multitude perish then. I remember the way them words stung right there the first time I read this, right? In the early 2010s, right? 2010, early 2010, something like this, you know? I remember how them words stung right there. Okay, never mind that great multitude then. Let them perish, right? Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain. You was born for nothing, okay? For no good reason, right? And let my grape be kept, right? And my plant. For with great labor have I made it perfect, right? So on the other side of great labor, we deal with this, right? On the other side of great labor, we are that cluster and that grape and that plant that he kept, right? So be ready for that great labor. We're doing that right now. This is that great labor. With great labor have I made it perfect. Have I made it complete. With great work have I done all that needs to be done to this grape in this cluster, right? So one question. With all that said, one question. If you ain't talking about this, then what are you talking about? If you ain't teaching the remnant how to love, if you know what I'm saying? Or if you ain't pushing to the great multitude, trying to find that remnant of lovers. And I'm gonna tell y'all, fam, the people who you see out there in this world teaching, that ain't teaching this, it's a facade, y'all. It's fake. It's fake, y'all. If they're not teaching this love right here, right? Bible trivia ain't gonna get you in the kingdom, right? All of the facts you know and all of that, all of the wisdom you have, there's a lot of wisdom, right? Let's go there. That's all we doing. We just playing with building blocks, you know? Ecclesiastes 12:12, right? And further, by these, my son, be admonished, right? Be taught, be conditioned, right? Of what? Of making many books, there is no end, right? And much study is a weariness of the flesh, right? So it don't take no whole bunch of studying, right? It never required that, is what this is telling us, right? Study to show thyself approved, yes, but that's to show thyself approved, right? So that when you're talking, you know what you're talking about, right? But guess what? It's a lot of people who didn't know what they was talking about. This kingdom ain't off the table to them just because of that, right? Nah, it's still on the table, right? Wasn't it two miscreants beside Christ on the crosses? They believed in him and they went with him. All because they said, man, you lucky, at least you going, you going somewhere good. And he was like, guess what? You're going somewhere good too. You know what I'm saying? Right? And they were thieves. They really were guilty, of what they had them up on them crucifixes for. Right? And they went with Christ, y'all. Ecclesiastes 12:12, and further, by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end. There's no end to all of them books, y'all. And much study is a weary of the flesh. You're going to tire yourself out. And in the end, what have you done in the way of this love? All you're doing is giving yourself more things to be offended about, because you're looking and you got all of this knowledge, and what do you know? What's wrong, right? Because everybody's doing it wrong because they don't have your knowledge. So all you're gonna do is look around the earth and be mad and go around, right? That's the Pharisee. Hey, you doing this wrong? You doing that? No, you don't do it like that. You do it like this, right? And the thing that he's correcting us on, is it love? No, it's not love. Look at Rawat coming. Ooh, that wind blowing. Hey, mama. You like that, huh? You like what I'm talking about right now? All praises to the Most High. Y'all see that? I dang near caught a tornado around here right now. All of my stuff start trying to leave the ground. That's a strong wind out of nowhere. She likes it, right? She communicated. All praises to the Most High. But, the things that they're correcting on, is it love? No. It's not love that they're correcting you on. So this is the conversation that need to be had, y'all. Right? So all praises to the Most High. We coming up on 2 hours. I know we lost some of that time because the live stream went down a couple times. Right? Man, I got water trying to come out of my face. But that water, that's crazy. Why she do me like that in front of this camera like that? All praises to the Most High. Dang, you put a lot of scriptures in here. Tazadak, you were just loading them in. We'll be here all night trying to read. It won't be the Sabbath no more after we get done reading all of that. Michael Michael Corbet got one. Is it Corbet or Corbett? Correct me out when you can. Right? That Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith, that you being rooted and grounded in what? In love. It's so many love scriptures in the New Testament, y'all. And we've been reading everything else, right? And when we get there, we can't wait to blow through it real fast. We don't even expound, right? When that's the only thing that's gonna save you. Well, I ain't gonna say the only thing, you know. Some of you may get lucky, right? Going that way, right? Some of you may get lucky going that way, you know, with the sin and, you know, having a good work combat that. And, you know what I mean? It might be, you know, for you to come out on top like that. But what Christ is trying to do, he trying to have us blow realms, right? You might get lucky the other way, you know? You may. It's going to be a few that make it like that. You know, you're doing what you can do. You're doing your best with the law, right? And then you just have a few works of love that's going to help you, you know, help you turn them few sins that would have probably sent you somewhere bad, you know? There's going to be a few that make it like that. But what about us who make love number one, right? We jumping realms, y'all. We blowing right through all of that other stuff and going straight into that realm. And I seen that realm, right? And what we're gonna do is we spend some time there, but we come out of there, right? We spend some time there, but we come out of there. That's probably the rest, you know. And we'll be through there through all of time, through the 1,000 years. You know, that's probably the 1,000 year rest. And then we probably come up out of that for the judgment, but we ain't got to worry. You know, we don't have to worry, right? We coming up out of there beings of Christ, right? All praises to the Most High. Think I'm talking crazy if you want to, right? But for the person that it's for, they're receiving it, right? And it's a blessing to them. All praises to the Most High. It's a beautiful thing, right? You die higher. Woo. Just to understand it, y'all. I'm so calm these days. I'm so calm, y'all. And I just move around through the earth, y'all. And I'm just, man, I got a mind full of this love all the times. You know, I apologize for whenever you have to see me deal with a scorpion, but hey, they have to be addressed too, you know, and it's love for them, man. I love them right now. I'm not mad at none of them guys that can't stand me. You know, I can't stand me either. I'm with them. I'm with you. I'm so ugly and stupid, right? I wish I could have, you know, been better for you, you know. Praise the Most High, you know. But I am who I am. You are who you are, and we going where we going. And I pray that you all repent out there, for the kingdom is at hand. I know. I do got a comedic side, Kyan. You know, but I really mean that though. It's funny, but it's funny, but I really mean that. You know, for real. Who else got one? Ephesians 3:17. That's the one we just read. There's no shortage of scriptures in here. Second Esdras 9, 15, 16. Like unto a wave is greater than a drop, right? Yeah, that's the remnant, right? Amos 5 and 1. Hate the evil and love the good, and establish judgment in the gate, right? It may be that the Most High of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph, right? So, what does that tell us? The remnant of Joseph, you know, this was for those who would hear that, but that's only out of the remnant of Joseph. You know, context is also important, y'all, right? So that tells us that they was loving evil, hate evil, and love the good. This was the way out of what Joseph was going through at that time. And we know what Joseph did, right? We know what Joseph did, right? Hosea chapter 7 and 8. Let's go there. Or just Hosea chapter 7, period. Read that, right? Because they fell off and they did some things that angered the Most High, and the Most High cut them off for a time, right? He cut Ephraim off, and that's the whole northern kingdom when it speaks of Ephraim, right? But this specifically is speaking of Joseph, and you know he had two sons, right? So that's Ephraim. It was Ephraim and somebody else. Who was it, y'all? It's slipping my mind right now. It was Ephraim and another one that came out of Joseph. But yeah, that was to them directly. They needed to hate evil, right? And we should. We should hate evil, right? Not the person, but what they're doing. Yeah, hate that. But you know, don't pounce on them. You know, pounce on that thing, right? And deal with it. You know, we deal with we deal with situations, not people, right? Because we're all vessels, right? And what is in us changes, right? Unless you get that love in you, you know. And if you should find that love out of you, get it back in you with the quickness, right? Because that's all we are, just containers, empty containers. And what's poured in and out of us changes, right? So when you find something foul in you, you got to pour that out, rinse yourself, pour the love back in, right? That's all, you know. But let love dwell in you richly, right? Let's go out with that one, right? Or let the word of Christ, right? Colossians 3 and 16. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, right? In all wisdom. So that means it is saying all knowledge. It says in all wisdom. So that means be doing this, right? And what else? Teaching it, right? And admonishing, that's conditioning each other in it, right? Admonishing one another in what? In psalms, right? So that's songs and hymns and spiritual songs, right? Singing with grace in your hearts to the Most High, right? So that's the height of it, is to break into singing with this, right? So all praises to the Most High. You know, that's the height of praise, is to sing with it, is to make melody with it, you know. So all praises to the Most High, you know. Oh, you can imagine That irks the devil when you just start singing. You start singing to a demon in righteousness and in love. Whoo. I know they must hate that, right? That means you might as well just stop the hate speech right there where you at in the sentence. Because when I start singing, all praises to the Most High, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. Glory to our Father in the heavens. You know what I'm saying? Try that. They might just start swinging, you know. And you take them punches, bang, bang, bang. Okay, start blocking some. Okay, restrain them. You know, put their back against the wall. Boom. You know what I'm saying? And keep on singing. You know, that would be, you would torture a demon with that. Can you imagine that? You know, and that's if you really want to go to war with one of them. You know, Christ said, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to that demon that's in you. Come out of him. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. Ayalawan got one more. Romans 9:27. Isaiah, which is Isaiah, right? That's Isaiah flipped in the Greek, right? Isaiah, that's more of a Hebrew foundation, right? But when Elias is coming from when we went into, you know, Rome and all of that, you know, we went into enemy territory, you know, spreading the gospel. So Elias also crieth concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. What remnant? Who adopted that love, y'all. Right? Kayam, it's not easy for all to show love to those that come against them, but I know it's necessary. Right, right. Because they be wrong, you know. If you was right, all praises to the Most High. You know, I'm not arguing with you, right? And if you're right, I'm not arguing with you, right? I'm looking for that. I love when I'm wrong, right? Because that's an easy fix. Hey, I'm sorry. I apologize, you know, and I'm going to do something on top of it to let you know that I ain't fake. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to let you see me suffer for that, right? I'm going to put my whole heart out there. What can I do for you? You know, if I'm wrong, you know, how can I fix? You know, I need you to walk away from that, not mad at me no more, you know? And that's the only way that, you know, I'm back where I was before I trespassed, right? So that's the easy way out when I'm the problem, you know? But when you're the problem and you're lying on me and you know what I mean? There go that wind again. There go my eyes again. That love is trying to creep. It's a blessed day. It's a blessed Sabbath, y'all. When I kill this camera, I'm going to just sit here and just soak this up. I need to eat, though. That's what I need to do because this is a feast day. We don't fast this day a feast, right? I got a silver platter feeling like the king, a bunch of cheese and sandwiches, fruits and things. 6 days shall I do thy work, right? But yeah, we 2 hours in. Let's get off of this thing, y'all. It's been a blessed Sabbath. I love y'all. Right to life, not to death. I love you to life, right? It's beautiful. Those few of you, man, I feel you. I'm resonating to you, and you resonating back to me. I feel you out there. Praise a higher, right? I gotta do better. You gotta do better. We all do, right? We all gotta do better, and we gotta get to somewhere where what we're trying to do is feel it, you know? We trying to feel that love, right? The highest prophet, Shalom to you too. Shabbat Shalom, right? It's a special, right? Much love to you, Ayalawan, right? I got somebody to get in touch with you. Look for that soon. I got somebody in Orlando. So I gotta reach out to you about that later. Right? Yep, yep. Let's see. One more for the road, y'all. Y'all know it's hard. Zechariah 8 and 11. Right? Let's get Zechariah 8 and 11 before we go on our way out, right? Zechariah 8 and 11. But now I will not be unto the residue of this people as in the former days, saith the Most High of hosts. Right? So the way he was before, he won't be like that with who? The residue. Who is the residue? The remnant, right? What's left over, right? Say you spill something and you clean it, man, you can't even, you gonna clean it until you don't think you see none, right? So that you missed and didn't see, if somebody was to come in with a magnifying glass, that's the residue, y'all. That's all he's saving. The residue, right? Who was that? The few, right? We got 42 people over here, right? All praises to the Most High. A remnant, that's all we are. Firm fist, right? To the 12 tribes worldwide, and all of they whom accompany us. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sabbath.